A very good day to you. This is, of course, the Chat Trap with me, Jamie, right here on the Relax Radio. We would love to have a conversation with you. We would love if you could connect with us, and you can definitely do that on our social media platforms or on the number that is given to you. So make sure that you do contact us, that you connect with us, and we can have a conversation. Whatever it is you want to share with us, you can definitely do that. And I will be with you for about an hour more, and we have a lot more interesting things to talk about. So, if you haven't downloaded our app as of yet, make sure that you do that by, it is available absolutely free of charge on iOS and Android. So make sure that you do download our app as soon as possible. Now, with that being said, we've been talking about gun violence. We've been talking about the US earlier on, but I did want to talk about a relevant yet quite a different topic, okay? I wanted to talk about the impact of mass shootings in gun policy, specifically in Britain. Now, this is something that you might not be aware of. This is something that you might think is not quite interesting, but at the end of the day, like I said before, I completely believe that in order for you to make up your mind or come up with an opinion, a perspective of your own, you need to be aware of all the surrounding facts. You need to be aware of all the surrounding situations in order to come to a proper conclusion or a proper understanding. So, in order to do that, I will be helping you out by keeping you updated with what's happening and also giving you a little bit of a history lesson with regards to what happened in Britain with regards to gun policy. Now, first of all, I spoke of this earlier as well. March 13th this year marked the 25th anniversary of the shooting massacre that happened at a primary school in Dunblane, Scotland. Now that happened 25 years back, and I know you know what happened. I mean, everybody does. It was the most tragic thing that we possibly faced, but just a little recap. So, on the 13th of March in 1996, if I'm not mistaken, yes, 1996, Thomas Hamilton shot 16 pupils and one teacher dead and injured 15 others before killing himself. Now, it remains probably the deadliest mass shooting in British history, but this isn't the first, okay? Um, Britain's first mass shooting took place some years before what happened in Dunblane in a small town called Berkshire, where a man had killed 16 people, and this happened in 1987. Now, the Dunblane tragedy, I feel like prompted an almost total ban on the private ownership of handguns, and as many parts of the world continue to ask what it will take to prompt similar, very bold, in my opinion, thinking about gun control, it's worth looking back at how exactly it came to be, how exactly Britain's gun policy was formed or Britain's gun control came to be, which is why I want to give you a little background information just in order to keep you updated with what's happening. Now, after the Dunblane massacre, there were calls to ban handguns. The government of that particular time, sought to manage the issue by establishing a judicial inquiry. Okay. However, I think it was a grassroots campaign. It was called Snowdrops, however, a Snowdrop rather, and this campaign forced MPs to reject the inquiry's cautious compromise proposals, and well, the parliament ultimately had no choice but to vote for a ban on handguns exceeding 22 caliber as a use to such lethal effect at Dunblane massacre. Now, an amnesty, quite preceding this whole situation, an amnesty led to the surrender of 165,353 licensed handguns and 700 tons of ammunition by the spring of 1999, which is not a long time back. Now, this built on a law changes that had been introduced a decade earlier after a mass shooting in Hungerford in south of England, which was also carried out with legally sourced licensed firearms, if I'm not mistaken. Now, the law change following the 1987 killings banned most semi automatic long barreled weapons and that types of ammunition. But the reason why I wanted to keep you updated with all of this is because how do we relate what exactly happened in Britain and all of this gun control that were put in place with regards to the US and with regards to what's happening all over the world, where we are living in such a dire time period where There is absolutely no gun control, where gun violence is running rampant, where everybody seems to be in fear of their lives because of the loose gun control laws that exist. And I'm not just talking about the US, but I'm talking about a majority of the other countries as well. Now, here are some statistics about the US and most other countries that do practice such governance that will surprise you. Now, I do want to tell you three things about this in itself. Firstly, I did read a couple of articles, and according to them, it said that mass shootings at the end of the day evoke large policy responses. So, a single mass shooting leads to a 15% increase in the number of firearm bills introduced within a state in the year after the mass shooting on average. Okay, but wait for it, because this effect increases and is highly dependent on the extent of media coverage. How am I not surprised? But that I guess is the ultimate truth. That is the actual truth of what's happening in the world. Now, that's the first thing I wanted to tell you. The second thing is that mass shootings account for a small proportion, rather, of all gun deaths, but have outsized influence relative to other homicides, especially in the US and most other countries except Britain. Now, thirdly, when looking at bills that were actually enacted into law in the US, the impact of mass shooting depends on the party in power, which again does not really come as a surprise because the annual number of laws that loosen gun restrictions doubles in the year following a mass shooting in the state with Republican controlled legislation. So, did you get that? That's actually quite funny to me because apparently, when the states are controlled by Republican controlled legislatures, then apparently the annual number of laws loosen gun restrictions doubles in the years following a mass shooting. Okay, let that sink in. But wait for it if you think there's a brighter side to it. There is actually not a brighter side to it because there is almost no significant effect of mass shootings on laws enacted where there is a Democrat controlled legislation. Now, I thought things would be different if it is a Democrat controlled legislature, but apparently there is no significant effect of mass shootings on laws enacted where there is a Democrat controlled legislature. Nor do we find a significant effect of mass shootings on the enactment of laws that tighten gun restrictions. Now, this is the situation in the US. I don't know what will happen. Following the Colorado attack that happened yesterday, following the Atlanta shootings that happened a few days back, hopefully there will be gun policy, gun restrictions that are introduced following all of these deaths because all of those are lives that wasn't didn't deserve to be lost. You know, there are so many people that are still in fear of walking on the road. These people were just shopping for groceries in a store and they never thought that it's going to be their last day on this planet. So it's absolutely unfair that people can, in fact, just buy licensed firearms and other people have to pay the cost for it. So it is definitely something that requires laws. Gun restrictions need to be strengthened, especially in the US. And I guess the reason why I brought up the British history or what happened with regards to the gun policy in Britain, the reason I did bring it up is so that, that just gives us context as to the fact that it could be done, that gun laws could be strengthened, in that gun restrictions could be imposed just like it has been imposed in Britain. Now, okay, aside from all of this, I also do want to talk about lessons for the future. Now, I feel like no part of the world remains untouched by mass firearm violence. Almost every single country. There are countries in Asia, it doesn't have as much media coverage, but there's gun violence that happens so often. So I feel like, um, see, at the end of the day, the only thing that we could do is to tighten gun laws. And we found that you need to do that in order to ensure that other lives don't, be affected by these loose gun laws that do affect that do exist in status quo. Now, see, at the end of the day, I guess I've given you all the facts. I've given you all the statistics to come up with your own interpretation of what is happening, of what's going on. And based on all of these, I want you to come up with your own opinion. I want you to figure out what's actually going to happen, what perspective you want to form on this whole situation with regards to gun policy. Let me know what you think. I would definitely like to hear your perspective, your opinion. So make sure that you keep it tuned and connect with us on our social media.